Hello and welcome to my Throne of Thunder raid guide. My name is Aliena, and in this video I'll show you all you have to know about heroic Jin'rokh. I'll assume you know how to kill the normal version of this fight, and we'll only go over what changes for the heroic mode. We completed this fight with 2 tanks, 3 healers and 5 DPS, but similar raid configurations may work just as well. In his heroic version, Jin'rokh has 317 million health instead of 200 million, which makes the encounter a fairly harsh DPS race. If you do not defeat Jin'rokh within 6 minutes, he goes berserk, which is more or less an instant wipe. The strategy for Jin'rokh stays largely the same. You still want to make use of the conductive water puddles as much as possible. They're still unusable after a lightning storm. You still have to tank swap, and you still have to kite lightning orbs to the sides of the room. The 2 biggest differences in the heroic version are Ionization and Lightning Strike. Ionization is a debuff that Jin'rokh will put on every raid member except the tanks, every 90 seconds. By itself, it doesn't do anything. However, when it runs out after 24 seconds, or when it's dispelled, it'll inflict 450k damage to the raid member in question, and within 8 yards of them. If a player is standing in a conductive water puddle when he's dispelled or the debuff runs out, everyone else that stands anywhere in the puddle also takes the damage. To deal with this, you have to assign a strict dispel order ahead of time. We designated 2 safe spots, at the start of the fight, that was to the left and to the right of a conductive water puddle. Towards the end, where we didn't have much room left, it was the top and the bottom of the free side of a conductive water puddle. It doesn't really matter which spots you pick, as long as everyone is aware of them and they don't stack up. They need to be at least 8 yards apart and well outside any puddles. As soon as Ionization went out, we had 2 of our healers run to the safe spots to dispel themselves. After that, our last healer and our Shadow Priest ran out to dispel themselves too. The Shadow Priest used Mass Dispel. If you do not have a Shadow Priest on your raid team, you will have to wait until your healer's dispel timers are available again. After that, we had our last 2 DPS run out. Those can be dispelled when the timers are up. It is worth noting that immunities such as Cloak of Shadows, Ice Block, and Deterrence work on Ionization, but they must be utilized right before the debuff goes out. It's a very fast cast time, so your raid members must be quick to use them. Since we have a Rogue and a Hunter on our raid team, they used their immunities every time Ionization went out and did not need to be part of the dispel order, which left us with only 6 people to dispel as previously mentioned. If you do not have that luxury, your dispel order must be near perfectly executed, since you won't have much time to spare between the dispel timers. It's worth noting that if you have a Disc Priest on your team, they should make an effort to use Powered Shield on people that are about to be dispelled to mitigate some damage. Any other defensive cooldowns your raid team can use certainly helps too. Lightning Strike happens during the lightning storms. There will be multiple strikes throughout the lightning storm. Their impact points are marked by blue pillars on the ground, and anyone standing in a pillar when it hits will take 400k damage. That's more or less a death sentence during a lightning storm. Once a strike hits, 4 lightning orbs will expand from it in different directions. If a raid member touches an orb, it'll deal 200k damage. Touching an occasional orb can be lived through, but multiple orbs will likely mean a death. They go fairly fast, and since lightning strikes happen all over the room, there will be many orbs to avoid at any given time. Being closer to the edges of the room more so than the middle makes them a little easier to avoid. However, healing is limited during this phase due to the constant movement, and all raid members should employ personal cooldowns as needed. The raid should make an effort to loosely stay on the same side of the room, so they are at least within healing range. The general area to stay in should be designated ahead of time by your raid leader. It is possible to influence which sides of the room will be taken up by conductive waters, as Jin'rokh will always throw your tank to the furthest away available quadrant. As such, your tanks should try to position themselves when the throw goes out so that the conductive waters will happen either clockwise or counterclockwise throughout the room. You want to avoid your raid having to run all the way to the other side of the room, as that would lose valuable DPS time. The difficulty of this encounter is largely staying alive during the lightning storm phase and beating the DPS check and the enrage timer. If you have a very solid DPS team, Jin'rokh is definitely one of the first heroic encounters you should attempt, since not much of the strategy actually changes. Ionization does require some communication, but after your raid team gets used to it, it should not pose much of a problem. I'm putting a link to the whole encounter into the video info in case you want to see how we dealt with the various mechanics in detail. Good luck and have fun!